Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed, baby. Let's talk about legends of boxing. Right now, because these things be happening right in front of your face, right? And we don't call them legends, because of everything that's going on in the internet and everything. We always talk down on the people that are really doing great things right in front of your face. And we seem the despicable ones who don't want to fight and go avoid fights and try to navigate themselves through. Those are the ones that are heralded as great. And we got legends right in front of your face, right? Give you an example. Oleksandr Usyk. I'm saying him first so you can really engage, so you can look past how I look. Oleksandr Usyk, when I talk about him, I've always said this is a living legend. He's a legend already, Hall of Famer already. What Oleksandr Usyk does is unprecedented, actually, right? I know people, when they say Oleksandr Usyk, he's overhyped and stuff, those are ones, and, is one of my favorite uploaders, too, who is one of the greatest in this business, right? And the thing is, right, Oleksandr Usyk, the things he did at cruiserweight, some people like it was easy at cruiserweight and this and that. And I know people are knowledgeable, but everybody doesn't know everything. Oleksandr Usyk was undisputed at cruiserweight, right? He's still undefeated. Undisputed at cruiserweight. I just said it twice, right? Undisputed at cruiserweight. And when he did it, it was the who's who of the cruiserweight division. He won the WBSS tournament, which you don't see anymore. Why? Because the WBSS tournament was a tournament where everybody who is somebody in the division gets together over maybe an 18-minute time, the best 8 fighters, and they find out who the very best is, right? They never found any legs that tournament because we couldn't determine who's the best without them fighting the best. And that's not what boxing wants. That's why WBSS tournament, you don't hear about it. Because most of the boxers that are up at the top, right, are boxers that are popular. They wouldn't enter these kind of tournaments. That's why the tournament's not there anymore. The greatest thing, we had a quarterfinal, semifinal, and the final, like other sports. Hell no in boxing, right? But Oleksandr Usyk, went to everyone's backyard to beat them. And I'm talking about bad boys. It was everybody who was somebody in the cruiserweight division. He went to Berlin to beat Marco Huck. Marco Huck is residing in Berlin by way of, I forget if he's Turkish or I'm not sure if he's from one of the Balkan nations, Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, but I think he's Turkish, living in Berlin. That's where he's stationed at. My man goes there and beats him. Marco Huck was a champion who had probably some of the highest amount of title defenses in history, right? Very, very, very good fighter, mean, come forward type of guy. Goes there. Then after that, that was his quarterfinal. He goes to the semifinal and beats a guy who's one of the best cruiserweights still to today. Only 2 losses on his record now, but he was undefeated when Oleksandr Usyk goes to Latvia and beats Marius Briedis. I think unanimous decision or split decision. Close fight, because Briedis is all that in a bag of chips. But he goes to his hometown and beats him, which means he really beat him, because you don't go to people's hometown and win close fights. Let me just tell you that. That was his semifinal. In the final, he goes to Russia to beat hard punching, trained by Abel Sanchez, what's his name? Mario Gassiev. Right? Beats him. Wins the tournament undisputed. Now, before that tournament, he beat somebody who, right now, is one of the best heavyweights in the world, but that gets ignored, is Michael Hunter, who was also a cruiserweight at the time. He beats him in America. Also beat Joe Joyce before, right? Michael Hunter is bad. Michael Hunter is the only one who beat Martin Bakole, who everybody's talking about is the most avoided heavyweight right now. You see articles all the time. Martin Bakole is the most avoided heavyweight. Yeah, but if you so avoid it, then readdress Michael Hunter, who's a lot smaller than him. Just Michael Hunter's all that. Michael Hunter lost to Oleksandr Usyk. After Oleksandr Usyk wins that tournament, the WBSS tournament, become undisputed, he fights the hottest guy in or around that division, which was Tony Bellew, who had just beat David Haye 2 times. He goes and beats Tony Bellew in England, where he comes from, right in his backyard, in front of his family. Then after that, okay, then he moves up to heavyweight, beats Witherspoon. Then he goes, beats Derek Chisora in what was a kind of close fight on purpose so he can get Anthony Joshua. Beats Anthony Joshua twice, once in England and once in Saudi Arabia. Right? Then, big old 6'7", 270-pound Tyson Fury does everything to not fight the guy in negotiations. And this is a guy without that much punch power, just a whole lot of skill. So damn it, Hall of Famer, awesome, one of the baddest ones we talking about, a living legend. You can ignore those things and like people that are not even looking for challenges like that. You can't even mention him in the same sentence as some of these guys we have up here, especially if they have the face of boxing moniker. They won't even look for, got people in their own divisions that's undisputed, got people in their own divisions that's awesome but won't fight them. That doesn't happen to Oleksandr Usyk. A Devin Haney, right now. Running around here with Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia was the man's mandatory. Didn't fight him. Teofimo Lopez was in his division. Could have fought him for undisputed. Didn't fight him. Lomachenko went to get a franchise title instead of fighting him. This is a young baby almost. He was on, 19, 20, 21. He's only 25 now. All these things happen in his division. Gervonta Tank Davis is the guy they're showing sparring right now of these guys when he was 17 years old. It's ignorant. I can't present that to you guys. I don't do, that's ridiculous. Who cares about sparring? It's sparring, right? But anyway, and then they don't even show the whole sparring. But at the end of the day, they say everything except let's fight when it comes to Devin Haney. That's his thing he says, and it's so profound. Because they do. They all talk about, just say you want to fight him. How the hell is Gervonta Davis in the same division and don't want to fight him? How the hell did Lomachenko, Lomachenko's mandatory and Lomachenko going out here to get a franchise title, which was egregious and ain't nobody talking about it right now? Huh? How does Ryan Garcia supposed to be so good? He's his mandatory talking about fighting everybody else. How is Teofimo Lopez going to put a duck on his head and rather duck him and say that the franchise title makes him undisputed instead of just going to get this one guy who had the real title and instead of trying to call him an email champ, which Teofimo Lopez was, but trying to call him that because the narrative was letting him that. The black guy is going to be the one that's not doing it right, right? We just talked about that yesterday. Boom. This is what he's doing. Then Kambosos, he has to take a ridiculous deal to go over to Australia 2 times, not once, but twice, to beat Kambosos, become undisputed, and then defend it against him in his hometown. And still then goes up to 140 pounds and fight the guy who Teofimo Lopez wasn't trying to fight. He'd rather fight Josh Taylor because Josh Taylor didn't look good against Catterall. So that's who he wanted to fight. He could have fought for more money for Regis Prograis. So he fights the hard-hitting, mean little mini Mike Tyson, Regis Prograis, and beats the living daylights out of him. Distance between the fights. Living legend right now. And wants to fight anybody who thinks about in or around his division. And now what they do in the mainstream media, trying to put him up 3 more weight divisions because he ballooned up after a fight. He weighed some after weigh-in. He goes back up, hydrates. Like everybody else that they call the face of boxing. Right? So now he's too big for everybody all of a sudden. Baddest dude out there in or around that division. Supreme confident right now. You see it in the Ryan Garcia, this ridiculousness going on in these press conferences. Living legend right in front of you. Now let's get to the one I want to talk about. Terence Crawford. Baddest dude on the planet when it comes to boxing, and it's not even close. Well, yeah, it's close because Oleksandr Usyk is up in there, right? But here's the deal. Terence Crawford. His whole career. Wasn't supposed to beat Bryce Prescott. Came in late, did that. And since then, he's never looked back. Looking for the hardest challenges. The baddest dude, lineal champion, was the baddest dude at lightweight. Went up to 140. Should have become undisputed at lightweight. Because when he left lightweight, there was nobody who thought about calling him out. You understand? Which means he was really undisputed there. But okay, that's just a technicality. Goes up to 140 and beats everybody who was supposed to be somebody. And everybody's acting like he didn't do nothing. Like everybody was going to beat Victor Postol. Victor Postol was the mini Vitaly Klitschko, right? Bad, undisputed, undefeated with about 30 wins. Wasn't nobody trying to fight Victor Postol, especially after Victor Postol beat your boy, that hard-hitting, what's my guy named? Lucas Matisse, right? Nobody was trying to mess with him, right? He wouldn't beat him. Then he became undisputed by beating your boy, Julius Ndongo. All hail Julius Ndongo. People try to act like, oh, Julius Ndungo wasn't nothing. Yeah, because y'all trying to ignore. Like, hopefully that everybody don't know what the hell went on. Julius Ndungo went to Russia to beat the undefeated Russian who people were trying to say Terence Crawford didn't want to fight. That's what they were up to, right? Because it was the Eastern European undefeated. They always do that. Troy Noski was undefeated, got knocked out by Julius Ndungo in Russia. Then so Julius Ndungo took that IBF title. Then he goes over to win the WB something. I forget which one it was, WBO, WBC, WB, the other one, WBA, by beating Mr. Burns, Ricky Burns, in his hometown. So Julius Ndungo was supreme confident. He could have went back to Africa and said, you know something? I'm going to go back to my police job, because he was a policeman too, on the side. So he's boxing on the side and goes to win 2 titles. And then you know what he does? This is how much supreme confident he is. Ask yourself, would your face of boxing do that after he goes and win 2 fights away? Would he go and say, I'm going to Nebraska to fight Terence Crawford so we can have an undisputed fight? This is what Julius Ndungo did. It didn't work out for him. He went to Terence Crawford, got beat up with a body blow. But he was trying to do it. Supreme confidence. So till today, all hail Julius Ndungo. Terence Crawford wouldn't have been undisputed if that man wouldn't have stepped up to the plate, like many others wouldn't have. So I ain't never forgetting Julius Ndungo. Bad dude. Supreme confident. It just didn't work out for him because he ran up into the living legend in Terence Crawford, who became undisputed. Goes up to welterweight. Once it, like y'all say nowadays, wanted all the smoke. Fights everybody bigger than him. Fights Jeff Horn after Jeff Horn beat Manny Pacquiao. Matter of fact, they didn't give him Manny Pacquiao because they were scared of his well-being. That's a feather in his cap right there. Manny Pacquiao fight anybody. He was never afraid to fight anybody, except maybe Floyd Mayweather, not doped, right? But at the end of the day, was ready to fight anybody. Have we ever had somebody, well, Manny Pacquiao ain't gonna fight him. Manny Pacquiao ain't gonna fight him. Only one is Terence Crawford. His team didn't want it. The pundits, the mainstream media didn't want it, and it's all documented. Just ask. Bob Arum told you straight up, man, I messed up that fight. I sabotaged that fight. I didn't want Manny Pacquiao to get hurt from a smaller guy in Terence Crawford, just coming up to 147 pounds. So he lets him fight Jeff Horn, gets beat by Jeff Horn, and he got beat because they re-watched the fight, right? Because there was an outrage with Manny Pacquiao, Teddy Atlas going off. What is going on with boxing? So what they did is went and re-watched it and rescored it and still had Jeff Horn, right? So Jeff Horn beat Manny Pacquiao. No doubt about it. Then Jeff Horn was feeling himself. I remember Jeff Horn was calling out Errol Spence, everybody. Supreme confident at the time after beating Manny Pacquiao. Got in the ring with Terence Crawford and looked pedestrian. Got beat up. Bigger than Terence Crawford. Jeff Horn was 154 pounder at the time. Then he goes up, beat Jose Benavidez. Yeah, Jose Benavidez had one leg, but Jose Benavidez is a mean dude that was undefeated at the time. Beat him too. Beat up the Mean Machine, undefeated. Right? Knocked them all out. Beat Amir Khan, who's supposed to have these fast hands. Then beat Kell Brook, who's also huge. Right? Beat all them dudes and knocked them all out. Been wanting Errol Spence the whole time, but they kept talking about it's a different side of the street. Think about that. It's a different side of the street, right? Like he couldn't fight him because he's at top rank and this and that. All these other fights was happening, right? Because Terence Crawford beat Felix Diaz, who only had one loss, and he didn't really lose to Peterson, right? So Felix Diaz was awesome, and he beat him. And Felix Diaz was on that same side of the street where the other guys was. So, you know what I'm saying? The side of the street is a myth. I've told you that forever. But it was Terence Crawford. All of a sudden, we had a side of the street. And I gave you an example of why side of the street, a good one. Canelo was at the zone. Gennady Golovkin was at the zone. Jaime Munguia was at the zone. And Demetrius Andrade was at the zone, right? When Demetrius Andrade fight, every time they would say, the biggest fight is Demetrius Andrade versus Jamal Charlo, who was on the other side of the street. They would never say Demetrius Andrade versus Canelo, Demetrius Andrade versus Jaime Munguia, who was his mandatory, or Demetrius Andrade in a unification fight against Gennady Golovkin. They were always talking on live TV about somebody on the other side of the street. So it's a myth, right? So Terence Crawford does all that. Then all of a sudden, we all know what happened when he met Spence, beat the living daylights out of him. Now, he's looking to fight Canelo. And Canelo's talking about, because he's going to go up 3 weight divisions, the only reason he was trying to do that was because Canelo is undisputed. right? And he wanted to go up to become undisputed. He was going to do that with Jermell Charlo, but they let Jermell Charlo go fight Canelo. And so Jermell Charlo got stripped. So what was he going to do? I know what Terence Crawford would like. He would like Tim Tszyu to fight somebody or whatever, because Tim Tszyu is the one with the momentum, the one that everybody thinks is so good, right? That's what's going on. That's who he wants, the winner of Tim Tszyu versus Keith Thurman, right? Because that person would have momentum. I would wish he could get some. He just wants to become 3-division undisputed, which would be unprecedented and never happened before. That's what he's trying to do. And the boxing world is trying to not let that happen. That's why Jermell Charlo got stripped. It's not about everything else like y'all think. It's about, we're not letting Terence Crawford become 3-division undisputed. That's why Canelo's not fighting him. Because we're not letting Terence Crawford come up 3-weight division and embarrass Canelo in front of the world. We're not letting him do that. Canelo talking about, oh, I wouldn't get credit for him because he's so small. Well, did you say about that? Did you think about that when you're fighting Yildirim? Right? Did you think about that? Think about that when you fought Amir Khan, brought him up, right? How much credit are you getting there? So it's a lot. If Canelo beat Terence Crawford, it would be probably in his top 3 wins of his whole career. Because the wins against Lara is not, because you didn't really win. Wins against Austin Trout is not, because it was open scoring and they cheated Austin Trout, right? So I would say Caleb Plant would have to be up there, and maybe even a Billy Joe Saunders, because Billy Joe Saunders is at least talented, but I'm not going to give him the credit for that, because he should have been fighting Demetrius Andrade instead of Billy Joe Saunders, because Billy Joe Saunders was doped, and he waited for him and told all the ones, Eastern Europeans and European people, don't fight and wait for me. But I don't know what Canelo's biggest win is. But Crawford would be the top 3 because Crawford is awesome and everyone knows it. So these are living legends. Oleksandr Usyk, Devin Haney, Terence Crawford. Living legends. Fathom it. Work on that. Understand what you're watching. Because with these guys, you don't have the same shenanigans as you do with the rest of the boxing world. And that's what's happening. So all hail Terence Bud Crawford. Period. Doma Sports Talk Worldwide. And I'm up out of here, y'all.